Hi there, welcome to the second episode of my 10-minute ones of the day. And the topic of this one is the story of Ricky Jones, the Labour councillor who's been dropped by Labour, has now been charged. And we'll head to court later on today. Now, this story is taken from the Telegraph. Lots of people are covering it, but I'll use theirs as reference. Their headline: Labour councillor charged with encouraging violent disorders over speech to counter protesters. The 57-year-old addressed a crowd in a London demonstration on Wednesday evening. Labour councillor Ricky Jones has been charged with one count of encouraging violent order. The 57-year-old is due to appear in court on Friday afternoon. Jones was filmed addressing a crowd in Walthamstow on Wednesday the 7th of August, during which he appeared to make remarks and a gesture to encourage others to act violently towards far-right protesters. Jaswant Narwal, the chief Crown prosecutor for the CPS London North, said. He has been arrested and charged within 48 hours and will now appear at Westminster Magistrates Court this afternoon, 9th of August 2024. We remind all concerned that criminal proceedings are active and that he has the right to a fair trial. It is extremely important that there should be no reporting, commentary, or sharing information online which could in any way prejudice these proceedings. That's all well and good, but I think it's safe to say that this whole story is awash with reporting, commentary, and sharing of information online. It's been going on for 48 hours, so I'm unsure as to what you could say that's not already been said that would stop this man getting a fair trial. However, good luck. One thing that every newspaper that I've seen report on this story has missed is not the fact that he was an ex-Labour councillor, because the Labour Party have dropped him like a hot potato, but he also claimed, in his own words, in a podcast I shared yesterday, that he is a scout leader and a leader of the Sea Cadets. I would quite like them to come and make some commentary on whether that is or is not true, and I doubt that would in any way prejudice any proceedings, legal or otherwise. But I need to admit, quite glad that this seems to have been dealt with quite quickly, but then again, it was only social media that got us there. This was not covered by anybody in the mainstream. In fact, the disturbance at Walthamstow, the counter protest to no protest, which is absolutely farcical. But this counter protest in Walthamstow on Wednesday night was covered in numerous mainstream outlets. Not one of them said anything other than it was very peaceful and it was a fantastic show of the nation standing up against the right-wing, far-right fascists and racists that are trying to overtake the country, which I think is phenomenal. So, if there's anything to be learned from this, it is the fact that justice has been done because of social media. Yet, we see the Prime Minister of this country look to stop sharing of information on the social media. And this government, media, and judiciary seem intent in curbing sharing of information on social media. The very information being shared on social media that led to Mr. Ricky Jones' arrest, subsequently charged, and we'll see if that goes on to get a conviction or not in the next few days. In the next few hours, he could go to court and say guilty, and that would immediately result in a conviction. But the mainstream media, the judiciary system, and the government want us all to stop sharing naughty things on social media. It's bizarre, isn't it? And if that was the case, if social media didn't exist, Mr. Ricky Jones would not have been arrested yesterday and would not have been charged this morning. Think about that for a moment. It's bizarre, isn't it? The mainstream media, I totally understand why they wish to silence the new media that's evolved on social media. People like myself, for example. If there's no social media, I wouldn't be doing this very thing right now. And the mainstream media see, particularly Twitter, which has now become probably a main outlet for anybody to gather news. I can totally understand why an industry like the mainstream media, TV, radio and printed medium, would wish to have no social media because it's competition for them. So they get two reasons for wanting to silence people like myself and social media in general. One, financial. If we went back to the good old days, as far as they're concerned, when all our news was received in two ways, that was you went and bought a newspaper on your way to work, and you watched the news on TV when you came home from work, and intermittently given news as they felt the need through radio that a lot of us listened to on the way and back from work, or while we're even at work. That's the way we used to get our news. And they all made lots of money out of advertising, etc. And they could write any narrative they wanted because there was no alternative. But now we have an alternative called social media, which not only has hurt them financially, we know that personally through 10 years of seeing newspaper journalists paid off because they're not bringing in the advertising they used to because nobody buys papers. But also, it loosens our grip on deciding the narrative. Because if the mainstream media say it's dark outside, and people on social media say, I've just had a look outside my window, here's a photograph, it's actually quite bright, then it stops them having free roll to write the narrative. Now, what should happen is, the newspapers, therefore, should be back to doing what they were meant to be doing all the time, and that is to deliver the truth. But now, there's that often we see the narrative put out by some in the mainstream, totally debunked by people on social media, kind of makes that a bit difficult as well. So I totally understand why the mainstream media, for those two reasons, wish there to be no social media, or at least heavy constraints put on them. And it worries me somewhat that Keir Starmer seems intent in tightening up rules for social media and wants to somehow make the platform owners even more responsible than they are just now. There are already laws out there for hateful words said on social media. You just can't do it. You can get arrested. That's been the way for years. So what is it they're trying to do? What is it they're trying to tighten up on when you've got sufficient rules right now to jail people, we've seen it often, for what's termed hateful acts on social media? These laws already exist. So the fact that Keir Starmer's already showed his hand and suggested that he wants to tighten social media legislation even tighter. Why? And there's simply no need. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe button and notifications. Get involved in the chat. The chats have been very, very good recently in the comments below. But most importantly of all, unless you're one of these people that think this is nice in a public domain with some horrific words, unless you are the mainstream media wishing to shut down your competition in social media, or the government that seem intent in introducing even more Orwellian and draconian legislation. See everyone else. Have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.